A very good evening and welcome to the news tonight, where we get you the day's top stories. We're taking a closer look today at what is going to be potentially a game changer in the oil and gas sector. But of course, markets still remain a bit depressed. We'll get you details of all of that in a bit. I'm Tracy Shilshi, and here are the headlines. Millions of workers go on a 24-hour strike to protest the proposed changes in labour laws and privatisation. Transport and banking operations affected in many cities. Centre to auction 69 small oil and gas fields taken from ONGC and Oil India Limited. New revenue sharing model to ensure marketing freedom to operators. Market sentiments remain low for the third day in a row. Sensex loses over 243 points. Three-day RSS meet with BJP leaders starts in the capital. NDA government has asked to form a commission to decide on the one-rank one pension scheme soon. And the migrant crisis peaks in the European Union. Hungary stops train services as thousands of people gather at its border stations. Top story this evening. Normal life was badly hit in many parts of the country today due to the strike called by 10 trade unions against the changes in labour laws and privatisation of PSUs. Besides public transport, financial services were also hit as lakhs of bank and insurance employees joined the strike. Here's a detailed report.
A one-day strike called by trade unions has crippled an entire nation. Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Bengaluru, Trivandrum, to name just a few, felt the effects and reeled under them.
It is because of the people are totally dissatisfied against the anti-worker policy of the government. It is a protest against labour reform. It is a protest against inflation. It is a demand for minimum wage of 15,000 and pension for all and social security for all.
हमने समझाने का कोशिश किया जो उनकी मौलिक बात था, विशेष करके मिनिमम वेज के बारे में, सोशल सिक्योरिटी के बारे में, एडहेरेंस ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग लेबर लॉ के बारे में, बोनस के बारे में, सारा विषय में स्पष्ट समाधान हमने सरकार की ओर से लाया। हमने ट्रेड यूनियन के मित्रों को समझाने का कोशिश किया। कई मित्रों ने उसको समझ के आज की स्ट्राइक से बाहर रहे, लेकिन मेरे पास जो खबरें हैं अभी, देश की कामकाज स्वाभाविक है, नियंत्रित है।
In Delhi, autos and taxis stayed off the roads, easing road traffic a bit, but resulting in crowded buses and metros. Operations at the Mumbai Port Trust was severely hit, even though cargo handling at the country's largest container port, JNPT, across the harbour was only partially affected. Transport services, however, remained unaffected in Mumbai as local train, auto rickshaws and best city buses operated normally. The common man suffered as public transport stayed off the roads. Kolkata saw clashes between members of trade unions and the police. Streets wore a deserted look as shops remained closed. CITU members protested across the city demanding pro-worker reforms.
हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने जिस तरह से लोगों से वादा किया था कि अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं, आज उस हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि उसके खिलाफ हो जा रहे हैं। किसी तरह का हम लोगों का जो श्रमिक भाई लोग हैं, किसी तरह का सुविधा नहीं पा रहे हैं। आज हम लोगों का छोटा सा दाबी है कि इतना महंगाई के दौर में कम से कम 15,000 रुपया होना चाहिए। उस जगह पे वो लोग कुछ उसको संशोधन नहीं करना चाह रहे हैं।
कोई बस ऑटो कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा है। ऑटोस जा रहे हैं पर बहुत कम है और बस भी 1-2 ही मिल रही थी। मैं घर से बहुत जल्दी निकली, फिर भी मुझे कुछ भी नहीं मिला। बहुत टाइम लगाने के लिए एंड लेट भी हो गई मैं।
Trade union members also blocked railway tracks in several cities. The scene was the same in almost all the cities across the country. Financial services were also affected, even as the unions in State Bank of India and the Indian Overseas Bank are not participating in the strike. The trade unions have a 12-point charter of demands, including withdrawal of the proposed anti-worker amendments in labour laws and stopping the disinvestment and privatisation of PSUs. ASSOCHAM estimates a loss of 25,000 crore rupees to the economy due to the strike. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the cabinet today approved a landmark change in India's hydrocarbons exploration regime, sanctioning the auction of 69 small and marginal oil and gas fields of ONGC and Oil India Limited. It will now be given to private firms on a new revenue-sharing model, offering the operators full freedom to market and price their products.
In a significant decision for the oil and gas sector, Union Cabinet has approved a paradigm shift in the revenue-sharing model. 69 oil fields in which production is yet to begin will be clubbed into clusters and offered for bidding within 3 months based on the new formula.
इसकी जो फार्मूला हम लोगों ने बनाई है, मार्केट प्राइस जो भी हो, रेवेन्यू शेयरिंग और रॉयल्टी डिडक्शन ऑयल के बारे में उस समय की जो प्राइस ऑफ द डे रहेगी ऑयल की, that will be the benchmark.
The government has also approved a unified licensing regime for operators to produce hydrocarbons in auction for 69 small and marginal oil fields.
हम सिंगल लाइसेंस या यूनिफाइड लाइसेंस पॉलिसी लाया है, जिसमें कन्वेंशनल हाइड्रोकार्बन, अनकन्वेंशनल हाइड्रोकार्बन, ऑयल, गैस, शेल ऑयल, सीबीएम, फील्ड में सारा चीज या 2, 3, 4 चीज उसमें मिलती है। सारा उत्पादक प्रोड्यूस को वो उत्पादन कर सकता है, उसको एक ही लाइसेंस की अथॉरिटी उसको मिल रही है।
The government is going for a simple revenue sharing regime by introducing a new method. Earlier, companies used to get blocks by bidding maximum work program. They used to recover their investment before sharing profits with the government. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined by Jaideep Mishra, the Senior Assistant Editor at the Economic Times. Thanks so much, Mr. Mishra, for being here with us. Well, India Inc., of course, especially those dealing with the oil and gas sector, calling this a game changer. What would your opinion be?
I would say it's a move in the right direction. It'll boost transparency, and it'll shore up investment in oil and gas. We import about 80% of our hydrocarbons. So this policy should incentivize domestic production, and it's path-breaking in the sense that we are now changing over to revenue share instead of going for cost recovery. And revenue share should be much more transparent and forward-looking and much more investor-friendly.
All right. And talking about the decision itself, coming from, of course, the Modi government, which, as we all know, when it comes to economic reforms, they are seeing quite a dip in at least expectations. This is going to be, a breath of fresh air for the government as well, because by the looks of it, it does seem like something that can be implemented quickly.
Of course. You see, the producers will be able to charge market prices, and there'll be one license for oil, for crude oil, for gas. And the best part is there won't be any contentious cost recovery involved, because it'll be a simple revenue share with the revenue share at the bidding parameter. So I would think that this policy should be extended to other sedimentary basins and even the shallow oil and gas blocks, so that you have much more transparency right across the board in oil and gas.
All right. And just talking about the players, who do you think would be gaining the most of this? And we do understand that this is also open to foreign investors, foreign players as well.
I mean, the government should go for, try and get the maximum investor interest and have in place a regulatory regime which is dependable and which is, which investors can look forward to and benefit from.
All right. And also, Mr. Mishra, one important thing that the Minister, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, also mentioned is of the fact that, under this single license, not just conventional products, but unconventional products as well is something that you could be looking forward to. If you could, just give us an idea of what is it that we are looking at, especially when it comes to shale products, because they are claiming that this is in fact going to be a big story in times to come.
Let's look at the big picture. I mean, in our sedimentary basins, many of our sedimentary basins are not explored, and they say that there's potential for at least 1 billion tons of hydrocarbons and 1 trillion cubic meters of gas in Indian sedimentary basins. So, if we could get a proper forward-looking policy in place, we could produce so much more domestic hydrocarbons domestically. And so that will benefit the domestic economy, and our oil security will improve, and we will cut down on imports.
All right. And lastly, Mr. Mishra, you talked about, regulations, what needs to be done. What is it that you think would be the challenges, really, even though it does seem like an easy, simple process, especially for the operators? What is it that the government should be keeping an eye out for as far as challenges are concerned?
For instance, geological data. I mean, we need to have a system where investors can look at the data and have a system of getting updated with the latest geological,
patterns or whatever.
With the data,
yes.
And what's required is that the oversight in this in the entire oil and gas sector needs to improve, so that we need a world-class investment regime, so that producers or potential bidders are incentivized to
Absolutely.
Put their money where their mouth is.
Absolutely. We leave it there, Mr. Jaideep Mishra. Thanks so much for joining us, helping us understand this story deeper. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye out on the dates, of course, that the government comes out with as far as the auction's concerned. But meanwhile, let's head on to more financial news. And despite the government's decision to waive tax on foreign investors, it failed to lift sentiments at the markets today as well. Sensex, in fact, extended its losing streak to 3 days by losing over 200 points today. In fact, Nifty 2 came under heavy selling pressure. Here are all the details.
Weak economic data from China, coupled with the possibility of a rate hike in the US later this month, has triggered a fresh round of sell-off in global markets. That had its impact on the Indian stock markets as well. After heavy losses on Tuesday, Sensex lost another 243 points amid heavy selling. Nifty 2 lost close to 70 points, inching towards the 7,000 mark. The fall comes despite the government accepting the Shah panel's recommendation to waive minimum alternate tax for foreign investors. A dull day at the Asian markets also contributed to the slump.
As of now, today the markets are flat, Asian markets are flat. So, as I said, they are waiting. The market is in the waiting. They're looking for some kind of trigger, which hopefully will come.
Less than expected GDP figures on Monday also weighed heavily on the markets. The government is banking on reforms to increase the pace of economic recovery.
I don't really know how it will, I can't be very firm about, how the economy will evolve. But we certainly think that the combination of, oil price decreases, commodity price decreases, the fact of macroeconomic stability, the fact of the reforms, the fact that, inflation is down and interest rates have come down. I think all of these should contribute to annual growth along the lines that, we've been saying might happen in the economic survey.
On Tuesday, IMF chief Christine Lagarde said global growth is likely to be weaker than expected due to a slower recovery in advanced economies and a further slowdown in emerging nations. Her comments come less than 2 months after IMF had downgraded its outlook for global growth. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, a 3-day meet of the RSS and its affiliates began in Delhi today. Top ministers and BJP leaders are part of the crucial meet to brainstorm over key social and economic issues and also issues confronting the Modi government. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also expected to attend the meeting. Besides BJP Chief Amit Shah, Union Ministers Arun Jaitley, Sushma Swaraj, Manohar Parrikar, Nitin Gadkari, Venkaiah Naidu, Anant Kumar and JP Nadda were also present at the meet. The major issues on the agenda include the census figures, OROP, the Patel agitation in Gujarat, land bill, labour reforms and the education policy. In fact, RSS is not a review performance, nor will any decisions be made. However, indications are that the RSS does want the centre to resolve the one rank, one pension issue soon and has asked the government to form a panel to look into it.
On broad national issues, there will be exchange of views, exchange of notes among various Parivar organizations, leaders of which are present in the Baitak. It is about how we should move ahead into the future. It's not about any review of the government or any policies or programs.
And with that, we'll take a quick break here, but still ahead. First sentencing in the 2010 Commonwealth Games scam. 6 people, including MCD officials, are handed jail terms. Details of that in a bit.
Bands and hartals, striking work to press demands. Today, many trade unions have called a shutdown. What are their demands and how has the government responded? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, let's get you the first sentencing in the 2010 Commonwealth Games scam case, where 6 officials have been handed jail term by a Delhi court today. The sentencing was related to the CWG street lighting scam case, which had caused a loss of 1.4 crore rupees to the exchequer. Among those sentenced are 4 MCD officials who have been given a 4-year jail term each. A director of the private firm was also given a 4-year jail term. These 5 convicts, in fact, were charged with offences like criminal conspiracy, cheating and using forged documents. The court also jailed the private firm's managing director for 6 years, who was charged under the Prevention of Corruption Act.
The penalty has been given by the court. So whatever the court has considered it appropriate, that has been given. We can only challenge that in appeal. We have to move in appeal and seek and pray from the court that their sentence be suspended till the time appeal is heard by the Honorable High Court of Delhi.
All right, now curfew has been relaxed in violence hit Manipur, especially in the district of Churachandpur. However, internet services remain suspended to keep a check on the communal flare-up over the issue. No fresh violence was reported today, but heavily armed state and central forces are patrolling the streets in Churachandpur as the situation remains tense. Reports suggest that legalized border trade in the state is still paralyzed as tribal students have imposed an indefinite blockade. Meanwhile, the state government appealed for calm as they clarified that the 3 land bills which were passed on Monday do not infringe on the rights of the tribal communities. Remember, violent clashes broke out in the district on Monday night after the state assembly passed those bills allowing land access to non-tribals. 8 people were killed in the violence. And now let's get you some more updates from across the country in Nationwide. Karnataka police has released 2 sketches of the alleged killers of scholar M.M. Kalburgi. He was shot dead at his home in Kalyan Nagar 3 days ago by unidentified gunmen. The sketches were released after the CID began investigation into the case on Wednesday. An army soldier and a terrorist were killed during a fierce gun battle in Baramulla district of Jammu and Kashmir that lasted nearly 9 hours. The encounter started Wednesday morning after security forces cordoned off the village and started a search operation for the terrorists. The terrorist has been identified as Riaz Ahmed, a resident of Sopore in North Kashmir. At least 82 students fell sick due to suspected food poisoning after consuming midday meals at a government school in Lucknow. This is the second incident of students falling ill after eating midday meals in the state capital in the last 1 month. Food samples have been collected from the school for lab testing. A special CBI court has deferred the hearing on former Jharkhand Chief Minister Madhu Koda's plea in the coal scam case. Koda sought the summoning of former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and 2 others as additional accused in the case. Former MP Naveen Jindal, former Coal Secretary H.C. Gupta and 12 others were charge-sheeted by the CBI. Now, the deadlock over the Rafale deal could soon be broken, with the Defence Acquisition Council, or the DAC, giving the go-ahead to further negotiations. The negotiating committee apprised the DAC about the progress made so far, reviving hopes of finalising the deal soon. French Defence Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian is expected to visit India soon, and sources say that the clearing of all major roadblocks, including the offset clause, would be completed by them. India's insistence on the 50% offset clause, tweaking of weaponry technology, and plans to set up 2 bases for Rafale fighter jets were some of the hurdles. Now, the DAC also cleared a 6,966 crore rupee deal for the purchase of 48 Mi-17 V5 helicopters from Russia. Approval was also granted for the purchase of 7 additional squadrons of the Akash missiles for the Air Force and 8 Chetak helicopters for the Navy. Now, the US cop who was charged with abusing an Indian man has gone on trial. The Alabama police officer Eric Parker went on trial on Tuesday on charges of using excessive force against Suresh Bhai Patel in February this year. The cop was captured on an amateur video throwing Patel to the ground. The fall left Patel partially paralyzed. Despite not fully fit, he is expected to testify through a translator. The Madison Police Department had apologized for Parker's actions and recommended his termination. The EU migrant crisis has worsened as hundreds of stranded migrant protested, outside a major railway station in the Hungarian capital of Budapest after police forces sealed off the terminal to stop them from entering the country. Meanwhile, in Greece, there's a huge surge in migrant influx. 2 ships carrying over 4,200 people have reached the mainland.
Chaotic scenes at the Kalati train station in Budapest. Stranded migrants chanting slogans demanding to be allowed to travel to Germany.
At first Germany. Why? Because it helps more than other countries. They don't care about fingerprints of Hungary.
Hungarian officials cut off train services to the migrants on Tuesday after allowing a train load of undocumented migrants to leave for Germany on Monday against the European Union rules. European countries meanwhile remain bitterly divided over how to handle the unprecedented influx.
Ellentétesen viselkednek a bevándorlási kihívások kezelésének tekintetében, hiszen világossá vált, hogy a kötelező kvótára épülő politika megbukott, mert az csak biztatást jelent az embercsempészeknek és a bevándorlóknak, hogy minél többen jöjjenek el.
The situation is grim in Greece as well. Thousands of migrants from Syria and Iraq has arrived in mainland, even as the Greek government is preparing for talks to tackle the crisis.
And I wish the UN and other independent organizations provide the help to these countries to support us.
In Italy, nearly 150 migrants have reached the Sicilian port after being rescued from the Mediterranean. Another 700 migrants were rescued by Norwegia and the Italian Navy. Ahead of the European Union talks slated for September 14th, the crisis is spiraling out of control. At least 11 migrants were reportedly killed and 5 went missing after 2 boats sailing to a Greek island sank off near Turkey. Normal life was affected in London as migrants blocked tracks leading to the tunnel under English Channel. Hundreds of passengers were stranded for hours on 5 Eurostar high-speed trains. Under the Dublin regulation, refugees should seek asylum in the first European Union country they enter. However, Italy and Greece say they cannot cope with the migrants as both countries have become a major landing point. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now let's get you more international news updates in Global Buzz. A US drone attack in a Pakistani tribal area killed at least 5 militants yesterday. The strike took place in a village in North Waziristan that borders Afghanistan, where the Pakistani military is battling Taliban militants. Authorities in Texas are examining two eyewitness videos that show the sheriff's deputies in Behar County shooting and killing a man. A San Antonio television station made the 4-minute video public. Shot from a distance, it appears that the victim, Gilbert Flores, has at least one hand in the air. Former Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd is among the people featured in the email furor engulfing US presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton. He was reportedly in contact with the then US Secretary of State after being dumped as Prime Minister. Rudd was replaced by his deputy Julia Gillard in 2010. A Soyuz spacecraft with 3 astronauts successfully launched towards the International Space Station on Wednesday, marking the 500th manned launch in space travel history. The trio, including the first Danish citizen ever to fly into space, blasted off in the Soyuz rocket from the same launch pad that Yuri Gagarin used for his historic entry into the cosmos in 1961. Sports now, and the second day of the US Open tournament saw the exodus of top women's seeds in the opening round. Lucy Safarova became the 4th top 10 player to suffer a shock defeat. However, top seeded in the men's singles have moved to the second round. Here are all the details.
Joining the women's casualty list in the US Open, Lucy Safarova became the 4th top 10 player to lose in the first round. 6th-seeded Czech left-hander slipped to a 6-4, 6-1 defeat to Ukraine's Lesia Sarenko. Safarova, the French Open runner-up, joined 7th seed Anna Ivanovic, 8th-ranked Carolina Pliskova, and Carla Suarez Navarro, the 10th seed, in the list of the first-round upsets. World number 2 Simona Halep, on the other hand, reached the second round thanks to her New Zealand opponent Marina Irakovic retiring with a knee injury. Halep was leading 6-2, 3-0 when her 99th-ranked rival called it quits.
I think I played very aggressive. I played with confidence, and I didn't let her playing her game. So just try to dominate the game, and I served pretty well. It was a great match, and you know, it's always good to start good a tournament.
In the men's draw, Britain's Andy Murray won a pulsating New York night match against Australian Nick Kyrgios to reach the second round. 3rd seed Murray came through 7-5, 6-3, 4-6, 6-1 against the unpredictable 20-year-old. The Scot won the match in 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I expected a tough match. He's, you know, obviously just missed out on a seeding here, and you know, aside from obviously his ranking, he's also ranked where he is based on his performances in the major events. I mean, he's played well pretty much in every Grand Slam tournament that he's been part of. Had big wins and pushed you know, a lot of guys extremely hard, and caused a few upsets as well. So I expected a very tough match, and that's what I got.
Roger Federer was in a different class than his first-round opponent, beating Leonardo Mayer 6-1, 6-2, 6-2 in just 77 minutes. Federer's compatriot Stanislas Wawrinka also made it through to the second round after the French Open champion beat Spain's Albert Ramos winnerless 7-5, 6-4, 7-6. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And that's it on the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night, and do join us again tomorrow.